Hello, dear students. I welcome you all on behalf of Shri Jendra Rank Zone classes. Dear student, we are in a continuation of the chapter that is environmental issues, and today we are going to discuss one more type of pollution that is water pollution. Now, as we know, humans have been abusing the water bodies around the world by disposing into them all kinds of waste. We throw all kind of waste or dispose it into the water bodies, and we are making them abuse. So we tend to believe that water can wash away everything, not taking cognizance of the fact that the water bodies are our lifeline as well as that of all other living organisms. Due to such activities of humans, the ponds, lake, stream, river, estuaries, and ocean are becoming polluted in several parts of the world. So, realizing the importance of maintaining the cleanliness of the water bodies, the government of India has passed the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974. So, what it is? Okay. So, water pollution may be defined as any adverse change in composition and condition of water which tend to lower its quality, means its quality is going to be affected due to any adverse change, and that if that can cause a health hazard or make it unfit for domestic usage, then we call it as a water pollution. So, for the cleanliness and maintenance of these water bodies, Government of India has passed Water Prevention and Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974. Okay, and that is ultimately to safeguard our water bodies. So, first, in this water pollution, we are going to discuss the sources and the effects of water pollution. Means we are going to talk about the pollutants. So, if we talk about the water pollutant first we are going to talk about the sewage and domestic wastes. So, as we know, domestic is sewage or domestic sewage, we can say, the most common source of pollution of water bodies. Okay, so sewage and domestic waste is the most common source of water pollution. As we work with water in our home, in the cities and towns, we wash everything into the drains. And it is known that nearly 75% of water pollution is due to the sewage and domestic wastage. So, this is the most common source, most common source of water pollution. And in that also nearly 0.1% impurities make domestic sewage unfit for human use. As you can see in this figure, 0.1% impurities are there and 99% 0.9% in water is there. If only 0.1% impurities mix with the water, it make them unfit for the human use. And this impurities, that 0.1%, include suspended solids, that is a sand, silt, clay can be there, colloidal materials like fecal matter, bacteria, cloth, paper fibers, that on can be there. Dissolved materials, example nutrients, nitrate, ammonia, phosphate, sodium, calcium. All this type of, we can say, the impurities make the water unfit for the human use. So sewage generally include biodegradable pollutants. Generally include biodegradable pollutants like human fecal matter, animal wastes, many dissolved organic compounds. Example: carbohydrates, protein, fat, urea. All are dissolved in the particularly form. And some inorganic salts such as nitrates and the phosphates of detergent are there, which are particularly responsible for the water sewage. So this 0.1% impurities make domestic sewage unfit for us. Okay. So The pollutants under natural processes are rapidly decomposed. In water, organic wastes provide nutrition for many decomposers like bacteria. Okay, this in water, this organic waste is going to provide a nutrition for many decomposers like bacteria. And this breakdown of organic part by using a bulk of oxygen and deficiency of oxygen, that is a reduced dissolved oxygen, kills the fishes and other aquatic animals. Means if the oxygen content is going to reduce in the water body, that is going to kill some of the fishes and other aquatic animals. But for the breakdown, and obviously for the breakdown of the organic matter, there is a need of oxygen. So during sewage treatment, solids are relatively easy to remove. What is difficult is to remove the dissolved salts such as a nitrate, phosphate, other nutrient, and toxic metals, ions, and organic compounds. Domestic sewage primarily contain biodegradable organic matter, as we have discussed, which are readily decomposed by bacteria and microorganisms, and which can multiply using this organic substance as a substrate, and hence utilize some of the component of the sewage. Anaerobic bacteria in oxygen deficient water disrupt food chain. Okay, so anaerobic bacteria in oxygen deficient water, they are going to disrupt the food chain. Anaerobic bacteria, if they produce a foul smelling gases. This gives rise to many other pollutants like H2S, NH3, organic sulfide, and methane. Because of this, the anaerobic condition, anaerobic bacteria are not going to make a water better. They are also going to particularly damage the water, or particularly make a impure water impure. So this make the water brownish and turbid due to this anaerobic bacteria. So pollution strength is characterized by a biochemical oxygen demand. If we want to measure that how much pollution is there, so this pollution strength can be measured by, we can say, this biochemical oxygen demand. Okay. So if you want to measure this using this BOD, that is biochemical oxygen demand, we can measure it. And what is BOD? If we define this BOD, it is defined in amount of oxygen in milligram consumed by microbiological action, means by the bacteria. Whatever the amount of oxygen that is consumed when 1000 ml sample of water containing when 1000 ml sample of water containing organic matter are known 1000 ml of water containing known amount of oxygen is incubated for 5 days at 20 degrees Celsius in the dark. So what it is? The amount of oxygen that is consumed by bacteria or microbes when 1000 ml sample of water which has whatever the oxygen content that is known, and then we incubate that for the 5 days at 20 degrees Celsius in dark, and then whatever the oxygen requirement is there, that is considered as BOD. A high BOD indicates intense level of biodegradable pollutants. Means they need a much oxygen or a large amount of oxygen, means the biodegradable pollutants, or we can say the pollutants are a large number of pollutants are there in this water body. So if we talk a pollution is low, then the BOD is going to be 1500 milligram per liter. If pollution is medium, then it is BOD is going to be 1500 to 4000 milligram per liter. And if the pollution is high, then it is going to above 4000 milligram per liter. Okay, so this is the what BOD levels of biodegradable pollutants. Now, water having dissolved oxygen content below 8 milligram per liter is considered as a pollutant. If a particular water body has a dissolved oxygen content that is 8 milligram per liter, below it is considered as pollutant. And heavily water polluted water have a DO below 4 milligram per liter. So if you talk about this thing, or if you understand this diagram, you will see that this is the sewage discharge. This is the point of sewage discharge. Here the sewage discharge occur in a water body, and this is the direction flow of water body. So here the concentration of organic matter is going to be high. Okay, so obviously the organic matter is more, a biodegradable component is more, so the BOD is going to be high. But dissolved oxygen is less. Obviously it is consumed, so it is a less. Now, as the direction of flow occurs, the degradation biodegradation of this occur, and the oxygen requirement get reduces as the organic matter get digested. So BOD is going to be reduced, but the dissolved content, oxygen content of the particular water body is going to be increased. So here, when the sewage discharge point, you will see the BOD is high, so the dissolved oxygen is less. So the fish, it is going to kill the fishes and disappearance of a clean water. But as the dissolved oxygen content increases and BOD is getting decreases, the reappearance of clean water organism is seen. Okay, so that is the thing with respect to this particular dissolved oxygen content. Now, next we are going to discuss about the COD. If we talk about COD, that is a chemical oxygen demand, it indicates total oxygen requirement by all the oxygen consuming pollutants. Okay, so it is going to talk about the total oxygen requirement by all oxygen consuming pollutant material, that is organic and chemical compounds present in the water, that is going to define the COD. And the value is higher than the BOD. Actually the value is higher than the not COD, BOD. Okay, an annelid worm, that is tubifax, and some insect larvae act as an indicator species of the polluted water. So by understanding this, what we understood that BOD or biochemical oxygen demand, it is oxygen consumption by organism and decomposition of organic matter are the factors that determine the amount of oxygen dissolved present in water. Higher the amount of organic wastage increases the rate of decomposition and the O2 consumption, thereby causing a drop in the dissolved oxygen content of the water. So if the organic matter is high, the particularly the dissolved oxygen content is going to be reduced. So the demand for oxygen is directly related to increasing input of increasing input of organic waste, and is expressed in biochemical oxygen demand. So BOD is a measure of oxygen required by aerobic decomposers for the biochemical degradation of organic materials in water. And it is possible to estimate the amount of biodegradable organic matter in a sewage water by a biochemical oxygen demand. Okay, so this is the what we can say about the BOD and the COD. Now, industrial wastes are also responsible for the what particularly we can say. So the above figure shows some of the charges. So next is the industrial wastes and effluents which are responsible for the what water pollution. So the industrial wastes and their effluents include a poisonous materials like acids, alkalis, chromium salts, phenols, cyanide, insecticide, agricultural chemicals, chlorine, ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, salt of heavy metal, such as of copper, lead, zinc, mercury. All this are present in the industrial effluents or industrial wastes. Okay. Now, the water become toxic and deoxygenated, so this cannot support aquatic life. Due to this all matter, the water is going to be toxic. So it is not a particularly it become a what we can say intoxicated and deoxygenated. So, unlike domestic waste, wastewater from industries like petroleum, paper in manufacturing, metal extraction and processing, chemical manufacturing often contain toxic substances and nearly heavy metals defined as element with a density greater than 5 gram per centimeter square, such as mercury, cadmium, copper, lead, and a variety of organic compounds are present in this industrial wastes and effluents. Now, mercury from this enters the food chain. It kills the fish and poisons the remaining fauna, and it is known that mercury known to cause a minimata disease. And this is the most important question, so you should remember this. Now, people feeding on this aquatic forms develop numbness in limbs. We remember this is the people feeding on this aquatic form, which have been in a contact with the industrial waste and effluent, develop a numbness of limbs and lips, impairment of speech, hearing, and vision, meningitis, and some of the genetic disorders are observed. Okay. Now, apart from this, oil also deplete the oxygen of water and inhibit a plankton's growth and photosynthesis. Seabirds smeared with oil fall sick and die. Organic phosphates and nitrates also enhance the growth of algal blooms. This also known to enhance the growth of algal blooms. And it is known that blackfoot disease is caused by a chronic exposure of the arsenic. Okay, so these are some of the particular things which are seen in case of, we can say, uh, industrial wastage and the effluents. Now we are going to talk about insecticides and pesticides. Insecticides are biologically active chemicals and are used for pest control. Insecticides are biologically active chemicals and they are used for, we can say, a pest control. And these insecticides and pesticides include DDT, SHC, sulfates, aldrin, etc. Okay, so these all are particularly insecticides and pesticides. Now, insecticides, if we talk, they are the biologically active chemicals and are used for pest control. This include DDT, BHC, copper sulfate, copper sulfate, aldrin, etc. And aquatic animals, if we talk, aquatic organisms absorb them in fat and oil and store them. So fish eating on the zooplankton, so aquatic organisms absorb this all insecticides and pesticides and store them in their fat and oils. So feeding on this zooplankton, fish feeding on this zooplankton and phytoplankton further concentrate these pesticides in their tissues. Further, it is going to concentrate these pesticides in their tissues. So birds feeding on this fish concentrate this pesticide still more, and the increased accumulation of these toxic substances in the food chain at a higher trophic level is called a biological magnification. So the increased accumulation of this toxic substance in the food chain at a higher trophic level, it is known as biological magnification or biomagnification, we can say. So many species of predatory birds like eagles, cormorants, hawk have shown serious adverse effects from this accumulation. So thinning of eggshell is the major effect. Thinning of eggshell is the major effect of this. Okay. So the degree of magnification of the insecticide is generally proportional to the persistence and inversely related to the solubility of water. Suppose this is the water and water has suppose 0.003 parts per billion, parts per billion, not here, here it is written million, it is billion. So 0.003 parts per billion DDT content is there. Now it is absorbed by zooplankton, and zooplankton, the concentration is reaching 0.04 parts per million. Then zooplanktons are eaten by small fish, and in small fish the concentration reaches a point 5 parts per million. Further, these small fishes are eaten by a large fish, and in large fish DDT content reaches to the 2 parts per million. Then large fish are eaten by fish-eating birds, and ultimately in fish-eating birds, DDT content reaches to the 25 parts per million. It is not 5 parts per million; it is a 25 parts per million. So ultimately, the in a fish-eating bird, 25 parts per million content is going to be there. So this phenomena, through which the certain pollutant get accumulated in the tissue in increasing concentration along the food chain, it is known as biomagnification. So such pollutants, DDT and mercury, are non-biodegradable. Once they are absorbed by the organism, they cannot be intermetabolized and broken down or excreted out. So these pollutants generally get accumulated in a fat containing tissues of the organism, and figure shows a biomagnification of DDT in aquatic food chain. In this manner, the concentration of DDT is increased at successive trophic level. Say it starts at 0.003 parts per billion, and it ultimately reaches the 25 parts per million in the fish eating birds through biomagnification. So high concentration of DDT disturbs a calcium metabolism. Okay, if high concentration is there, then we can say that high concentration of DDT disturb calcium metabolism in birds, which causes thinning of eggshell and their premature breaking, eventually causing eventually causing decline in bird population. Okay, so this is the what biomagnification occur like this. Now, next pollutants, water pollutants are the detergents and the fertilizers. Detergents are washing materials in water which cause soppiness. Detergents are the washing material in water which cause soppiness. This form of film around the organic vestige. This detergent and ultimately form a film around the organic vestige. Some of the fertilizers, such as nitrates and phosphates, are used in agriculture to increase the crop yield, reach through irrigation, rainfall, and drainage into the river and pond where they seriously disturb the aquatic ecosystem. So some fertilizers are like nitrate and phosphate, which are used in agriculture that increases the crop yield and reach through irrigation, rainfall, and drainage into the river and pond where they seriously disturb the aquatic ecosystem. When such water are used by animals, the nitrates of the polluted water become reduced to a toxic nitrites in their body by intestinal bacteria. So first what is happening? Through fertilizers, the nitrate and phosphate are reaching to the water bodies. Then from water bodies, the animals are going to go use that water. So they, when they use water, this nitrate of the polluted water become reduced to the nitrite in their body by the intestinal bacteria. And the nitrites in the body combine with hemoglobin in their body to cause a serious disease that is known as methanoglobinemia or blue baby syndrome. That is known as methanoglobinemia or blue baby syndrome. So here it reduces the oxygen carrying capacity of the hemoglobin, or we can say the blood, and it ultimately damages the respiratory and the vascular systems, and sometimes also it causes a suffocation. Okay, so that is the thing. So now this way, if the in water bodies the nutrient are enriching, this phenomena is known as eutrophication. So here we are going to discuss a eutrophication, which is one of the important phenomena. Eutrophication is considered as a natural aging of life. It is considered as a natural aging of a lake by a biological enrichment of its water. By a biological enrichment of its water. In a young lake, the water is cold and clear, supporting the little life. Obviously, in a young lake, it is going to be a clear, cold and clear, and support a little life. With time, the streams draining into the lake introduce nutrients such as the nitrogen and phosphorus. So nitrogen and phosphorus content are going to be enriched in the water body which is a cold and clear area. Now, with the enrichment of this nitrogen and phosphorus, which increases the growth of the aquatic organism, as the lake fertility increases, plant and animal life grows on, it budges on, and organic remains begin to be deposited on the bottom of the lake. So, over the centuries, you will see that a silt and organic debris are going to pile up as the lake grows shallower and warmer with warm water organisms supplementing those that thrive in a cold environment. Okay, So silt is going to be increased. Lake grows shallower and warmer with warm water organisms. It supplements those that thrive in a cold environment. So marsh plant take a root in the shallow and begin to fill in the organic or original lake basin. Okay, so marsh plant eventually the lake gives way to a large masses of floating plants and finally it converts into the land. So pollutants from the main activities like effluents from the industries and home can radically accelerate the aging process. Okay, so pollutants from the main activities like effluents from the industries and home that can readily accelerate the aging process. So phenomena has been called a culture-related or accelerated eutrophication. And acronia classicus grow abundantly in the eutrophic water bodies. Okay. So it is excessive growth of algae, plant, and animals in the water bodies due to the nutrient enrichment of the particularly nitrogen and phosphorus. It is known as eutrophication. So eutrophication, if we consider, it is of two types, that is the natural and accelerated. Natural eutrophication is the natural aging, as we have discussed, and it is a slow process which may not be detectable in human lifespan. So young water body has a cold clear, as we have discussed, about nitrogen and phosphorus and enriched, the water, the lake fertility get increased, and animal and life plant life burgeon. But in cultivated or accelerated, we can say eutrophication, it is caused by the human activities and like effluents from the industry and home, runoff of fertilizer rich agriculture field that ultimately during the past century, lake in many parts of the earth have been severely eutrophied by a sewage and agricultural and industrial wastage. The prime contaminants are the nitrate and the phosphate, which act as a plant and nutrients. They overstimulate the growth of algae, causing unsightly scum and unpleasant odors. To lake may poison the polluted population of the fish. Okay, so at the same time, the other pollutant flowing into the lake may poison whole population of the fish, whose decomposing remains further deplete the water. The dissolved oxygen contained in such fashion, the lake can literally choke to the death. Okay, so that is what about the eutrophication. Now we are talking about another theme which is responsible for the water pollution, that is siltation. It is known that excessive agricultural and forestry practices causes soil erosion, that is the removal of top fertile soil during the heavy rain. So due to this excessive agricultural and forestry practices, which causes the soil erosion, that is the removal of top fertile soil during the heavy rain, the water becomes muddy, which fail to support much plant growth due to the poor light. Now, next is the thermal pollution. It is known that heated wastewater from the power plant industries are introduced in the water, which raises the temperature of the water to a harmful level. Then it is called as thermal pollution. Now, it is harmful to whom? It is harmful to the aquatic organism, obviously. So, thermal pollution speed up the biodegradation of organic matter, which result in ecological imbalance of the rivers and streams. So thermal pollution speed up the biodegradation of organic matter. And with the speed up of the biodegradation of organic matter, it results in an ecological imbalance of the river and streams. Warm water hold less oxygen as heat causes a deoxygenation in water. So it increases the rate of metabolism and microbial activity. Many fish and other aquatic animals which are sensitive to the temperature change in water and cannot withstand die. So they are ultimately going to die. Now we are going to discuss a case study for water pollution and case study of integrated waste management program. Wastewater, including sewage, can be treated as in an integrated manner. An example of such an initiative taken in the town of Arcata, that is California. Here, the town people created an integrated wastewater treatment process within a natural system in collaboration with Humboldt State University. Okay, so the people of this Arctic town, in collaboration with the Humboldt State University, they have created one integrated waste management program. And here they shown that the cleaning occur in two stages. The cleaning occur in two stages. The conventional sedimentation. So the first way of cleaning is the conventional sedimentation, filtering, and chlorine treatment are given. And this conventional sedimentation, filtration, and chlorine treatment are given. After this stage, lots of dangerous pollutants like dissolved heavy metal still remain. To combat this, an innovative approach was taken, and this innovative approach was taken by this friends of Arcta marshes. And here, the biologists developed a series of six connected marshes over a 60 hectares of marshland. Over 60 hectare of marshland, six connected marshes were developed. Appropriate organisms were seeded into this area, which neutralize, absorb, and assimilate the pollutant. Means six connected marshes. If we take two, three, four, five, six, and these six connected marshes are there, in which the appropriate organisms were seeded, and this appropriate organism include plants, algae, fungi, bacteria. These all were seeded. As water flows through these marshes, it gets purified naturally, and marshes also constitute a sanctuary. So what happens? These organisms which are seeded in this particular area, they neutralize, absorb, and assimilate the pollutants. Hence, as the water flows through the marshes, it gets purified naturally. It gets purified naturally. The marshes also constitute a sanctuary with a high level of biodiversity in the form of fishes, animals, and birds that now reside there. So this citizen group, that is the Friends of Acta Marsh, are responsible for the upkeep and safeguarding of this wonderful project. So they particularly take care of this whole project. Now, last, we are going to talk about the ecosystem toilet in this water pollution. So ecological sanitation is a sustainable system for handling human excreta using a dry composting toilet. So here dry composting toilets are going to be used that are going to sustainably handle the human excreta. It is known that this is a practical, hygienic, efficient, and cost-effective solution by which human excreta can be recycled into resources like a natural fertilizer, which reduces the need for chemical fertilizer. So there are working called ecosystem toilets. Working ecosystem toilets are available in the areas of Kerala and Sri Lanka. So this composting method recycles human excreta into a natural fertilizers, which reduces the need of chemical fertilizer. So this is the ecosystem toilet. They usually ask this question that in which particular area these are working ecosystem toilets are available. So we remember this is Kerala and Sri Lanka. Okay, so that is all about, we can say, the water pollution. Okay, so I hope you understood well. Thank you everyone.